This committee has worked tirelessly over the past 2 years to expose the censorship industrial complex and how censorship has permeated so many of our once trusted institutions. We have confirmed, for example, that the Biden administration pressured and coerced Facebook/Meta and other social media companies to remove true and accurate content, including the fact that the Hunter Biden laptop, in all of its horrific glory, did in fact belong to him and was an honest depiction of not only his life, but of his corruption. We exposed the World Federation of Advertisers, or WFA, and its evil spawn, the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, or GARM, as being in reality a $1 trillion antitrust operation designed to prevent conservative media from generating revenue through advertising sales. We informed the public that their government, a government that they pay for, was using third parties to prevent them from obtaining accurate information about COVID-19 and the efficacy of the vaccines. We exposed the long-term effort by our so-called political betters to censor our speech, to prevent us from freely exercising our religion, to prohibit us from assembling peaceably, to destroy freedom of the press, and to block our ability to petition our government for redress, the 5 pillars of the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. To say that what we learned is frightful and frightening is an understatement. It is the absolute antithesis of a free society. If we cannot speak truth to power, we have no power. If the government can block the dissemination of valid, legitimate, and accurate information about our very health care, then we are serfs, not free people. If the entire mainstream media complex is turned into a government mouthpiece, corruption becomes the order of the day, and freedom, equal protection, the rule of law, and accountability mean nothing. There were numerous people who helped expose this scandal, including several on this panel today, and the American people thank you. Your willingness to take on the censorship industrial complex is admirable, and it is not hyperbole to say that you had a hand in saving our republic. We also learned that this censorship apparatus was not limited to just a few federal employees, but was a whole of government approach that was launched to protect the Bidens, Fauci, Mayorkas, and others, while targeting Trump supporters and the disfavored. And here we are, the dust has largely settled, and we have wrested control away from would-be dictators. Pulled back the curtains and turned the sunlight on to disinfect the dark, dank corners of Washington, D.C. Yet I am not aware of anyone who created this censorship infrastructure being held accountable for the last almost 10 years of relentless, well-funded, and well-orchestrated attempt to nullify the First Amendment. Here is my question. Are any of you aware of any political leader or federal employee being held accountable, either by being reprimanded or fired, being sued, or having criminal charges brought against them for violating Americans' First Amendment rights? Mr. Schellenberger?
The only person I can think of is Nina Jankowicz, who was basically forced to step down.
She didn't get a job.
What's that?
She didn't get the job.
Yeah, she just didn't get the job.
Mr. Taibbi, are you aware of anybody being punished?
No, I can't think of anybody.
Mr. Aaron?
Based on your description, I don't.
Mr. Subramanya?
I'm not aware of any politician anywhere on the planet, anywhere in the Western Hemisphere, who's been held to account for violating people's free speech rights.
So don't you find it strange that the architects of this situation have not been held accountable for violating our rights? On his first day in office, President Trump issued an executive order prohibiting federal officials from engaging in censorship and directing reviews of previous federal involvement in censorship. And I think that's a good first step, but I don't think it's enough. I believe that Congress must act to defend the First Amendment, which is why I developed legislation with Representative Dan Bishop last Congress, now introduced in this Congress as the First Amendment Accountability Act, which aligns with the President's executive order, but it has actual teeth in it. And what my Accountability Act says, that it creates a federal version of 42 U.S.C. Section 1983, a civil rights statute. And it says that should a federal employee deprive any person of their First Amendment rights, the employee shall be held liable to that person for damages, a suit in equity, or other proper proceeding for redress, including the award of attorney's fees.
Will the gentleman yield for a friendly question?
No, I will not.
For a friendly question?
No, Mr. Aaron, do you believe that an individual employed by President Trump in the White House should be able to violate your First Amendment rights to censor your speech? Yes or no?
No, I don't think it should be censoring.
So I take it that you support my First Amendment Accountability Act to make sure that such an action never happens, and if it did, that you would have a remedy to protect yourself, is that right?
I would be happy to look at the legislation and the text you've prepared.
And as to each of the rest of you, Mr. Taibbi, Mr. Schellenberger, and Ms. Subramanian, do you believe that the First Amendment Accountability Act is a good idea?
I do.
Sounds good to me, but I'd love to read it.
I support it.
Thank you. I yield back.